internet, and today's video is going to be my October book haul. Yes. So this month I had a break. I'm currently in college, so I had my fall break, and I went to go visit my friends. My friends live next to a bookstore, so of course I spent all my money at that bookstore. This book haul is mainly graphic novels. It's like half graphic novels, half novels. So we're going to get into the graphic novel portion, and then we'll get into the novels that I bought. The first novel we have is Saints by Jen Liu Yang, and this is by the same author who wrote American Born Chinese. This is a two-part graphic novel, the first one being this one, Saints, the second one being Boxers, which is on the back here. It is a story based on the historical event of the Boxer Revolution, which happened in China. It was back in the day when Christianity was first making its way around the world, and when it's made its way into China, a lot of Chinese traditionalists were not too happy by Christians coming in. So this talks about the Boxer Revolutions, those Chinese traditionalists who were really mad about this new religion, and then this book. So this book follows the Christian side, with this girl who ends up converting and becoming a Christian, and how she sees the world and how she sees her China, with also being a Christian and having this revolution going on at the same time. The second half of this graphic novel, the Boxers portion, is the same story but told from the perspective of a boxer, so a Chinese traditionalist who doesn't want Christians in China. You get two sides of the revolution. The next graphic novel I have is The Undertaking of Lily Chen by Danica Novogorodov. I didn't say that right. I know, I'm so sorry. It's gonna be right here. I'm really sorry about that. And this one was actually really interesting. This is another historical based book. It is about a boy whose brother dies, so he is sent out to find his brother a bride. This plays off of that old tradition and belief that men, when they die and go to afterworld, they must be married so their wives can go along and keep them companionship. It used to be an old practice that if an unmarried man died, that the parents would search for a bride for him, and they would marry him before they buried him. So this boy is looking for a woman that his dead brother can marry so he won't be alone in the underworld. I found this very scary because we meet this girl, Lily Chen, and the reason why it's called The Undertaking of Lily Chen is because the man is contemplating whether or not to kill this woman so that his dead brother can marry her and won't be alone in the afterlife. Next two graphic novels I have are ones that I had heard about on YouTube. I heard about it from Comic Book Girl 19. She does movie reviews and a lot of other nerdy stuff that she covers, and she talked about in one of her videos this graphic novel by Adam Warren called Empowered. I have volume 1 and volume 2. Now, before I get into it, let it be known that this does have parental advisory. This is for people 18 and older because it does have sexual content in it. It is done tastefully, but it is explicitly stated. It's not meant to be grotesque or overly porny, but again, it's done tastefully, but it's still there and it's still explicit. This tells the story of this girl empowered, and she is a superhero. She's a part of a superhero team, but she's also known as the lamest superhero in superhero kingdom because her suit is like this second skin membrane that goes over her skin, and is this awesome suit that like can get shot up and stuff like that, and like can make her super strong. The only problem is that it gets ripped up really easily, so she ends up hostage all the time, but she perseveres. She tries to continue to be the best superhero she can be. I think this is a 5-volume story. I only have the first 2, but from the inside cover it looks like it's 5. So the last set of graphic novels that I have is part of a series, and this is a compilation of authors and artists. I will list their last names down below, or their full names down below, just so that you know them all. And this is the Wicked and Divine series. So I have volume 1, The False Act, volume 2, Phandemonia, Volume 3, Commercial Suicide, and Volume 4, Rising Action. This has a 5th volume that is out currently. It came out over the summer, and a 6th volume that will be coming out next year. I've only read these 4 volumes. This series is about a god cycle, and every 90 years gods are reborn and awakened, and for those 2 years they have like these powers. They can influence the world. They're to be loved, to be hated, and then after those 2 years they die, and this cycle just keeps repeating itself. We follow this girl who's currently in the midst of a god cycle. It has just started. She follows these gods, she goes around to see their shows, and she ends up entangled in this pantheon and trying to figure out what's going on. We find out there's a lot of secrets going on to this cycle, why it continues, why gods become the way they are. We learn the backstories of these gods before they became gods, all sorts of things. It is very, very nice, very, very stunning, beautiful work, and a very compelling story. So there you go. Next, on to the novels that I got. Most of these novels that I got are ones that I've previously read or I know the story of versus anything new to me, but I wanted them in my collection, so I bought them. First, we have my favorite Rick Riordan series, which is the King Chronicle. So book 1, The Red Pyramid, book 2, Throne of Fire, and book 3, The Shadow Serpent. Now, the King Chronicles, if you haven't heard about it, is based on Egyptian lore and the Egyptian pantheon. It follows 2 siblings, the Cains, and they are getting wrapped up into these gods. They find out that they have the powers of these gods. They're kind of like demigods, but more of the Egyptian sense, where it was like pharaohs and stuff were gods. They were the children of gods, so they share their mind with gods instead. I don't know how to better explain that. Maybe it makes more sense when you just read it, how that sort of system works. But it was definitely my most favorite Rick Riordan series. I mean, I love Percy Jackson. I was so about the Lost Heroes arc, which is why I haven't finished it. I have yet to read Apollo, and I have yet to read Magnus Chase, but I definitely love this one the best because I connected most to it, and I really wish he continued on with this series outside of this first trilogy. Like, he actually went more in depth to just the Cains instead of like that crossover book that he had with the Cains and Percy and Annabeth. So next we have Empire State by Adam Christopher. This is a superhero noir. I think it's like a detective sort of book, but we have superheroes involved in the mix. Apparently we are living in a time where like crime is really heavy. Superheroes aren't doing their jobs that well, and I'm not quite sure what's in store for me with this book, but I really like the cover. I just found it so intriguing, and I like stories that are like contemporary in nature but have some sort of fantastical element to them. I just think it makes all stories better when you have something fantastical that I can latch onto while I'm dealing with these real world issues. Next, we have Armada by Ernest Cline. This is the same author who wrote Ready Player One. I have yet to read Ready Player One, and I want to read it before the movie comes out, but I haven't seen it, and I can't be bothered to order it, so I haven't read it. I've heard about Armada. I've heard that it's not as good as Ready Player One, but from what I understand, it's still one of those trapped in virtual reality, trapped in MMO game sort of books, and I love that premise, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy this one as well. The next novel we have is Beautiful Friendship by David Weber. This is a part of my sci-fi goal where I want to establish more sci-fi books onto my shelves, read more of it, become more familiar with sci-fi, because although I really love sci-fi and I love science fiction, I am not as well versed in what are my do's and don'ts when it comes to science fiction, so I usually tend to hesitate when picking up science fiction because I'm not quite sure if I'm wasting my time or not, because I haven't discerned which types of stories I like more than others. So this is a part of that category. This is about a girl who moves from one planet to a next, and on this new planet she realized there's a sentient alien race and they are cats. So there's these sentient alien cat-like creatures and she becomes friends with them. I'm not quite sure where the story goes from there, but it's called A Beautiful Friendship, so it's probably about this girl and her alien cat friend. The last set of books I have here are all classics. This is an edition I've seen a lot on Bookstagram, but I never saw in stores before, and then I saw it and I was like, yes, finally, beautiful classics. I actually have like a love-hate relationship with classics. I find them to be well written, but not my type of story, if that makes any sense. So I cannot say I love classics or there's any classic that is my favorite, but I can definitely appreciate them for what they are. So we're just going to go down the list. We have Dracula by Bram Stoker, Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, which is the one classic I will say I love. I absolutely adored this story. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, The Odyssey by Homer, and the Iliad by Homer. So all of these are of the same publication brand. There was a lot more at the store, but of course I had to pick and choose which ones I wanted to add to my collection first, and I could not buy the whole set of classic novels that they had provided there. But if you really like this style, I would say go check it out. I will put the company name down below because I can't say it. It has a little bear and everything on it. It's really cute. It's like, it's right there, but I'll put it right there so that you can see. I can't say that name. I'm not gonna butcher it. But I like these classics. I've read all of these classics, which is why I bought them over the other ones that I have yet to read. So those are all the books that I bought in the month of October. I hope that you had a lot of fun with me. I also wanted to ask you guys a question. So I really love graphic novels, I love comic books, I love anime, and I love manga. You probably have picked that up since I refer to these things a lot. Well, I do want to continue on the book opinion side, and I know I have a lot that I need to catch up on and ones that I want to talk about. I also want to know you guys' feelings and thoughts on reviewing anime and manga and that sort of thing, and comic books and graphic novels, if that is something you would also like to see added occasionally. I will focus mainly on books, but I would also like to add that in as well. If that is something that you guys are interested in seeing, I'm more than willing to add that, because that is where half of my reading comes from, as is anyway. So if you like what you're seeing here, you want to continue to see more, click all those bunnies down below, and goodbye, internet.